Shalom. So, something that's been on my mind for quite some time is I've noticed that a lot of the arguments for Yahusha being Yahuwah are verses that sound like he could be Yahuwah, or verses that if you take out of context, it will sound like he might be Yahuwah, or that he may be saying that he's the Father. And I don't want to get too deep into that because, of course, you guys know that I believe that if you just keep reading, you'll see that he's not saying he's Yahuwah. Or that he's the Father. He always brings a distinction right back, I believe. That or, things like the ambiguity in the Greek, like the Kyrios, and, it's like, honestly, because it says Kyrios, we won't know for sure if it says Yahuwah or Master. So there's verses like Philippians or First Corinthians where they say it's saying Yahusha is Yahuwah, but honestly, it could just easily say Master as well. Depends on the context. So besides those things, right, there are things like in Isaiah, there is no other Savior, there is no other Elohim besides me, verses like that. And, like if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Verses like this, it sounds like it could be Yahuwah. It sounds like it's plausible. It sounds very reasonable, right? And if Yahusha never said he was the Son, if Yahuwah never said he was the Son, if the apostles never said he was the Son, I would agree. However, why does it feel like, and this is my question is, why do we have to view these verses that sound a certain way through the perspective of, quote, he has to be Yahuwah somehow, quote? Why can't we view it through this perspective? Well, he said he was the Son, so although it sounds like this, I have to tie it back to what he says because I believe him. He's not a liar. Yahuwah's not a liar. Yahusha's not a liar. The apostles aren't going to lie because they had the Ruach of Yahuwah. They had the Ruach of Elohim, and I trust what they said. They made the distinction between the Father and the Son, even in the book of Revelation. And so why can't we understand these verses from Isaiah, these verses from the book of John, anything that sounds like he may be Yahuwah, right, that people use, right, which I really do believe if you truly just keep reading or you do some more research, you'll see that it's not really saying what you think it's saying, what it's saying, I believe, from my studies so far, for the most part. Why do we have to see it through this perspective of it has to come back to Yahuwah being Yahusha somehow? Why can't it be, well, they said he was a son, so we have to view it through this perspective, and we have to understand these verses through the perspective and the lenses of that Yahusha is the son. It always has to come back to that perspective because that's what they said. Why can't we view it that way? That's my issue.